What's up, guys? Hmm. How did you all do with the basically flat price action from Thursday and Friday? A little bit of a wild ride. Hmm. Ooh. What's up, Gilg? Made tons of money. Nice. That's what I like to hear. I ghosted you and took the days off too. Nice. You had a bit of a pre-birthday surprise, which I could have successfully dodged had it been my actual birthday, but it was not. I tried to throw the streams up while I was gone. Well, the second day I figured it out at least. Hmm. Bond vol's moving a bit. Interesting. Ooh. Man, they're just selling puts into the entire fucking drop, huh? Hmm. That's fucking gross. I wonder what's gonna happen with the OPEC's end of this week. Non-professional. I have no idea if you can add those on IBKR. Maybe? I can see your messages, Jeff. You said I didn't trade and still lost money, which I assume means you spent it? My birthday is Wednesday. You can wait a couple days. Oh, PTLO. We could take a look at it. Hmm. Leverage fell on Friday. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm doing all right. All right, what do you want to know about PTLO? Hmm, that's cheap. Looks like IV falls off pretty hard over the next month or so. Probably flattish price action. Hmm, bit rough. Guidance isn't great. Was the bottom in? Maybe? It looks like they're trying to pursue a strategic shift, so, I mean, possibly not. I guess margins could turn negative. Net profitability is pretty shitty after operating expenses. But they're not unprofitable. How are their cash flows? Tight, quite tight. A little bit negative in the last quarter. That might continue for some time. Their balance sheet does still look decent. At least got some of it paid down back in 2023 and 24. They're trading like barely 0.75 to book. I mean, I guess they're successful with their strategic turnaround or they fail. I mean, the price isn't probably going to go a lot lower, but I would say that it could probably lose some value. Hmm. Yeah, it might have a little bit more room to the downside. A long-term play could be worth it at 450-ish. I would say it could go a little bit lower than 450-ish. It could probably even drop as low as like 4. But yeah, I mean, you'd have to be betting on a turnaround. And if the turnaround gets ugly, or it doesn't look like it's going to play out, people are going to start betting on bankruptcy. And at $4, you would be badly positioned for that. So, you think they're going to turn around the company in 2 months? Consumer discretionary spending isn't like doing great right now. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't really know what price range they target. They're none near me. It's just fast food, right? Mm, not exactly cheap, but it does look disgusting. So kind of around like the Five Guys price range. Yeah, Chipotle is similar. I don't think that I'd be careful. That like fast casual price range has been getting hit hard. Chipotle, Kava, um, like what are they called? Shake Shack, Five Guys. Five Guys started dropping their prices here. I'd imagine that's probably a trend with a lot of them. Maybe pick some up, but I would wait till I saw a better story on the turnaround. Any idea where the bottom on bull is? We're in the middle of a trade war with China. I can tell you locally. I mean, or at least what the options chain indicates. Probably somewhere around $3. There's no fucking neutral point for gamma because everything's positive on the chain, but gamma falls all the way off down to 250. I would say between 5 and 250, the decline in gamma slows down a lot. 650. Definitely still got more room to go down though. 7, 6. 850's got a little bit of support here. Probably from the prior bounce. Skew still looks a little slippery. Heavy 10s picking up. About 10-day skew. Things look bullish in the short term. $10 strike still looks a little bit difficult. Do they have earnings coming up? That could help things. But, not a lot of faith in the options market for this right now. At least not down here. Looks like 850, 950 puts kind of exploded on Friday. Calls the upside. So someone's selling the 850, 950 puts and buying calls fucking out to like $10. So maybe maybe there's like a $2 bounce turnaround prior to earnings on the menu. Looks like the 9 and 950 for this week got bought up pretty heavily. And the 10, I doubt those are sold. Because of the spike in skew in the short term. Because those are, those are all about 10 to 14 days to expiry. Shit. Oh, weird. Hold on. There you go. So gamma doesn't fall off much below here. Looks like there's a bunch of puts at 8, 850, 950. And then if you look at skew 10 on the 10 is kind of picking up, so calls are pricing up. And you can see the OI change here. So somebody's buying these calls here, like 9, 950, 10. Someone's selling these puts. But the further out shit is still bearish. So up here, these calls are probably sold higher up the chain. And then these puts are probably bought out here, like December into Jan. So yeah, there's like $2 upside. So maybe if you're looking to average down and then get out at 10, you might have like an opportunity to cut some of your costs down or your losses. But I don't know where you're in at. Who convinced you to go long bull? Don Duck? Alright, what other tickers? CoreWeave? Yeah, give me more of this shit. Ew. Looks like crap. Delta's falling off. Well below DNGN. Was there any news to turn shit around? Did NVIDIA announce they're gonna buy like a bunch more of their own chips? This looks like dog shit. It can still fall. There's plenty of negative gamma to the downside. Could slip down to like 67, 67.50. Well, really 65 to like 70, I guess. Plenty of room for it to keep dropping off. Puts are still overpriced. Some of the 30 days turning around, so I wouldn't say it has a ton more downside in the short term, but looks like crap. Maybe it'll chop here. Although chopping around 75 seems better. Probably not going to go under 62. DVM. Remember, options market correlation here is not super strong, but oil's doing alright. It's back above 60. It picked up some delta on the chain last week, and things look a little bit more bought, so there might be room out to like Gamma Max out at like 38 right now. Gamma did fall off a little bit on Friday. Yeah, I don't love the upside, but if it breaks out of the broadening wedge that it's in right now, there's room. So there's like a good like technical breakout on it that you could just use that kind of tracks the option sentiment right there. Just remember, volatility on failures of the downside's a bit rough. Skew 30 is about average. A little bit of an uptick in vol, the upside. Yeah, vol picks up real quick on any downside move. Probably, yeah, room out to like 40, 41, maybe at most. A little bit of resistance at 38. Support at 36, 35. Yeah, not much delta out to the upside though. So I'd be a little worried about that. It's like some out of the money calls are getting, or out of the money puts are getting bought. But out of the money calls too, and not just short dated ones. Looks like 40 calls out and Feb and March picking up. Out the money calls for this week. Some out to like 37. So yeah, maybe it breaks up. Probably just depend on it, oil performance. No problem, JC. GME? Oh, fuck me. Why? Gross. Looks like shit. High XRT correlation. Ugh, I don't even remember what that chart is. Beta? Index beta? What does it mean? Oh. It's the shorter rolling beta. Yeah, fucking index correlations, dog shit. BTC correlations, high. Is BTC shitting the bed right now? Where is it? Yeah. That's probably not great for them. They have a bunch of it. Liquidity's not very tight. Yeah, it looks like crap. Vol's low. Might be in a slump for a little while. Got 2-3 weeks before ETF FTDs, and even those might not have much of an impact. Although with vol so low, it could be a good time to like sell longer dated CSPs or buy leaps, like at the money leaps, maybe. Some sort of leveraged long exposure to a vol spike. Although I feel like you could wait. 20 looks kind of permeable here. Well, nothing but puts for this coming week. Calls closing out of the money. That is fucking weird. Look at that shit. Call away dropping on every strike. Down to 17. Put OI dropping on everything from like 27 down to 10. Huh. Puts her pricing up on the 10-day. Vol picks up real sharp to the downside. Yeah, it doesn't look great. Maybe it's time for Jimmy to fall back to delta neutral. It's been a while since it's tested it. June. Barely. TSYY? Probably don't have it. But what are the fucking... Why not just ask about Tesla? Is that Tesla? What's IV on Tesla? Relative to the historic. That's one of the yield max ones, right? IV sucks. It's pretty fucking low right now. It looks like NAV erosion's kind of killing the fund, to be perfectly honest. And it's still trading at a premium to NAV, so it's not even a good deal. SMCI. Yeah. SMCI might be running into support here. Yeah. If it gets out above delta neutral, pretty bullish. So anything above like 38, 38.50 probably. Squeeze out to like 41-ish. Not a lot of fucking room, but Gamma picks up really quickly. Soul pits. 34, 32. Spot calls 37, 38, 41, 42. So up here, not good changes. Forty calls fell. Some bought for further out though. December. Might get like might get a small continuation on the bounce here, but I wouldn't say it looks like a very strong setup. Reddit? It doesn't look terrible. I mean, gamma to the upside. After like 220, things look pretty good. That's a better move than the other one. You picked up there, but short-dated interest is still kind of slim. But I would say out on the 30-day, maybe there's like little advantage there with HV at like 87, IV 10 at 65. So might be able to maybe like call spreads. It's a little tighter. Mm-hmm. 255. Puts mostly below spot. Money plus closing. In and out of the money calls. Yeah, looks kind of bullish. Like, not terrible. I'd probably play it closer to the money because of the 200 resistance, but it does look like things are turning around a little. Already did the DVM. BX. BX has done nothing but sell off. I mean, this is probably more impacted by macro than anything else, but kind of having a hard time getting under 140 without some sort of structural change. Yeah, 140 is pretty big support. Delta's a little slim under that too. However, there is room for it to continue down. Skew's been falling on the 10 and 30-day tenors. IV picking up to the downside, so looks like market participants are targeting 130. Just gamma hasn't really flattened out down there yet. Doesn't look great. Bounces on it can be really fast though, so be a little bit careful of that. Nove. Probably still doing well alongside oil. Yeah. Gamma Max doesn't mean a whole lot here. Neither is the options chain, but looks like people are picking up options all the way out to 20. Skew's still pretty elevated on the 30-day. Turning around on the 10. Skew 60 looking like kind of flat. There's definitely still some upside interest on it. Chain's starting to bifurcate, so it's getting like a secondary gamma max out of 25, which is super bullish. Wait, which node is this? Yeah, that's the right one. Okay. Yeah, it looks pretty fucking good, honestly. started to break out of my drip range last week. So looks like people are targeting, 20 and above. Not a lot of options changes though. So maybe sold puts 13, 14, 15, 16, bought calls at 17. So yeah, I think it'll continue to be mostly uninfluenced by the options chain. I did Tesla, sort of. Well, same thing. No problem, JC. Octa, Crowd, CCI, Target. That's too many. Pick one. Pick two. Oh, fuck it. There's no one else asking, so. Yeah, I'll just start. You put Octa first, so. Looks like shit. Room to the downside to 80. IV's turning around though. Maybe starting to sell the 80. Yeah. Maybe starting to sell the 80. I'm guessing if this rally doesn't continue out, it's very likely that it retests 80 or pushes lower. That's where I'd be looking for an entry, or at least looking for support before entering. There's plenty of delta to the downside, even though gamma kind of falls off under 80. That could shift. Disgusting spread. There's plenty of vol to short, both on the 30-day and the 10-day. No, we'll probably sell calls on the upside and see if I can buy puts if it rose, but I would say it could just fall back to 80 pretty easily. Under 80, tricky. Maybe 75. Crowd. Looks bullish. You got earnings? Are they fucking earnings? Oh, they just missed? 15, 13 cents a share miss, but revenues were up. Barely led to a fucking pullback. Earnings are December 2nd. It's 2 weeks. Upside resistance at 50 and then 580. There's plenty of delta. Fauna picks up hard above 550. Big fall spike up there. Skew in the 30s falling with 10s rising. Overall skews went down too much. Not a lot of IV to be gained to the downside. Price action caps out around 580. Calls don't look heavily bought though. Yeah, I guess above 540 there's room to push out. Above 550 even more. So maybe like 540 upside confirm. 550 upside breakout to 80. I'd be most interested in that pre-earnings as vol rises. We got a nice big spike in vol out here on the term structure. If you're up at like 550, 580, quite a lot of vol. So that might be an interesting upside target. Historic's picking up on the 30 and the 10. Yeah, so I'd say 540 signal, 550 breakout. Downside's iffy, but I guess under 35 is not great. Looks fairly well supported in the meantime. Gamma picked up into the end of last week. Calls are more bought. So. Beyond? Who gives a shit about Beyond? Why don't I just buy back in at 50 cents when the shorts get out? I'm ashamed. Did you buy it at $5? Carvana. That's a good one. Hmm. Vol got crushed on the breakout. Uh, back up to like 345. Rejected hard at 330 on Friday. Delta fell off and Gamma's still flat. Yeah, there's room for it to move down to 290. 300 would be probably hard to break. There's not a shitload of Delta down there. Although the Delta down there is much better over the next month. So, yeah, possibly. Possibly back down towards 3. Maybe a little under 3. Heavy spikes on downside news under 320. Yeah, there's a pretty good amount of interest to the downside of spot. I would say that we got put buyers still coming in. Like an overpriced puts, but they're there. Yeah, looks like puts are getting bought all the way down to 270. And then when he puts bought at 320. There's some call interest to the upside of spot, but it's weak. Mostly around 322.50 and 327.50. I don't think either of those are super impressive. Like 800, 750 calls, whereas the puts are quite interesting. Picked up, was it 2,000 puts? So 41% increase as of Friday, and then some moves and puts down here further below spot. Yeah, Carvana doesn't look great at all. QCOM. It's got a weird fucking options chain too. Looks bearish. Kind of flat, less buy interest on the call side. Gamma support's falling off, but still somewhat padded at the 170 level. Sub 170 things get bearish down to like 150. And there's plenty of delta to absorb that drop too. So yeah, this does not look good. Skew 30 is dropping like a rock. This is 10. IV is not very beneficial either. Both well below historic. So negative carry. Yeah, this looks like down more. I don't know how much, but 550 seems reasonable. It could keep moving from there. Because that's where Vol's going to pick up as it gets under. Well, even if it gets under spot, Vol's going to pick up to the downside. And there's quite a bit of positive carry. Like the 10 days, what, fucking 7 points. So it looks bearish. Later, bear case. Feel better, man. No problem, boom boom. All right. Is that it? You guys want to look at the market a bit? I'm gonna write up the index tonight actually. So I'll just do that in Pickles picks. We can look at news. A bunch of shit this weekend. Escalation with Venezuela. Kashkari is now on the fence with rate cuts, so there's more doubt. I think the December cut fell below a 50% bet. Yeah, rate cut for the December meeting has fallen to 45%. So starting to price out with the more data we're getting, and we're going to start getting all the data from the government shutdown, so that could turn things. But right now, a December cut's not looking super great. Also, probably just elevated IV anyway, because like the market's gonna have to price up IV this week anyway, because we're gonna start getting all that backlog data, and no one knows what it's gonna look like. What would you say to a ne'er-do-well who's been using J-Roll's beta spare? I don't even know what the fuck that means. Somehow doubt this is your first stream for calling him J-Roll. FSLR keeps going down. Well, it's not like we have a central government that's real big on green energy right now. Well, if inflation's up on the PPI and CPI reports, then yeah, the Fed might have to raise rates. That's a possibility. It at least would stabilize repo a bit if they did. I know New York Fed over the weekend met with some of the prime dealers about the liquidity issues, but those are still persistent. We still have a lot of like negative sentiment surrounding the Epstein thing and the vote on that this week. Obviously, that's not great. Like, look at Archer. Weird. Gamma neutral got fixed. Gamma slightly positive. Delta falling off the chain. Sold puts at 750, so it looks like it's got some support, but that might be it. There's really almost no gamma neutral on this at all, so you gotta kind of use this. Looks like 757 support. Room to the upside, 9, 10. Pushing out above 10 pretty hard of that higher demand, but there's room for it to run. 1150, 12, 15. Delta to the upside's not terrible. Some calls to squeeze out around $10 if it can get over it. That could push up vol quite a bit. I think getting over 12 would be very hard though. But yeah, supports like $1.50, $1 below spot. If IV up, consumer spend bad. FSLR puts 14 to 30 DTE should price up in a week or so. Am I out of touch? I don't think so. Sounds about right. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, puts on FSLR are already a little pricey. But yeah, nearer the money puts have room to price up quite a bit. The 35s are kind of expensive, but the 30s are cheap. 200s are relatively cheap also. There's some out of the money vol shorting there. Gamma flattened out super hard to the downside, but a drop down to from spot down to like 200 isn't impossible. Still support at 50 and 40 though. So things don't really get bearish till it's under 40. But under 40 things get pretty bearish pretty fast. It does look like there was some buying of the dip on Friday. So maybe you want more time. Puts her a lot cheaper out on the 60-day. Although they've stayed steadily cheaper as well. And I don't like buying it off of the back of a bounce. I'd probably wait till that got rejected, and then if I was gonna look 30 days out, I'd wait for this to get rejected on the upside move, which it did a little bit, but not enough. Like I'd want the 50 or 40 failure to confirm. I will say Delta's starting to fall off pretty consistently over the last couple of weeks. Since like November 5th. Delta's just trending off, which is not a good sign. Could infer some profit taking. Looks like bot puts at 250. Some down at 240. Maybe in the money bot puts at 55, 57, 50. Call side looks dead. So, yeah, not a lot of call interest except way the fuck out of the money up at like 300, and those are probably sold. Yeah, there's quite a bit of room for this to fall before it starts picking up volatility to the downside. A little bit down at like under 40, and then vol picks up big after a loss of 30. Yeah, longer term bonds would probably continue to push up in yield on a rate hike, but yeah, I would say that it would help bring a little bit of liquidity back in the system. So because everyone's piled into bills and there are cuts, it really hurts short-term liquidity. Yeah, that's one of the reasons there's problems with short-term liquidity. One second. All right. Yeah, that's one of the problems with short-term liquidity is yeah, everyone's just overly exposed to bills. Also, because you're flipping it, you're creating sellers because the value of those shorter dated bills is going up, and that people want to sell them. They don't want to buy them, right? They don't want to get less interest for their investment, but they do want to take the value out of the premium and close them. It should help with credit creation, except we're not in an environment where it does that. So yes, theoretically, cutting rates should help create credit, but the demand for credit is currently higher than the system can sustain. And so people want better coupons in order to hold their money. Because not only do you have downside risk to the dollar, but you have a large demand for very near term debt creation, both from corporates and then continued operations from the treasury. And that's a tricky situation. Why the fuck does everyone want rate cuts then? Because they want free financing. Because they can't afford to pay for financing. You think Meta wants to spend all of their money building data centers with no electricity to supply them? They don't. That's the secret. They want to spend other people's money and they want to borrow that money at 5%. But those people are like, fuck that shit. I want more. And if I'm going to buy it, I'm going to hedge the fuck out of it and I'm going to artificially drive up your rates by increasing your CDS prices. So you buy the hedge, that pushes the rate up, then you buy the debt and you get a better deal. And then when one of them fails, you make a fortune. Hopefully enough to pay off all the other money that you lost. It's not very responsible of them, but they've put themselves into a artificially created artificial intelligence arms race where there is no actual winner because according to the head of AI research at Meta, LLMs are a fucking waste of time. That's not JFresh, by the way. That's literally the guy heading research at Meta on AI. Anyway, I think that's about it for today. So for tomorrow, I mean, I guess we could just take a look at ES. 67, 66 still seems like a pretty fucking important level. We have a double bottom on the daily, so we should probably expect a bounce with falling VIX. A little bit of IV crush on Friday. However, sustainable moves to the upside are still going to be somewhat difficult. below GN still. 10-day skew continued to fall, so there's put buyers. Volatility rises pretty sharply below spot. Any continued downside will be very bad for the people that were selling puts. Not a lot of delta to squeeze out to the upside, and hard resistance at 67.55. Support at 30. But a fall back into these sold puts would be devastating. So, the OPEX. I don't know. Pre-SLD, we got a couple days. Maybe bulls try to squeeze it up. It doesn't look great for them, but why the fuck not? We don't pick up gamma very quickly, and it also doesn't fall off very quickly. So maybe kind of range bound tomorrow with like a slight upward list. So continued upside consolidation, kind of looks like, barring any news. 68.12 might confirm like a more bullish trend for the day. Otherwise, I could pretty easily see us chopping between 66 and 812 as they try to crush off the rest of the implied vol spike and calls get cheaper. Puts are still good for selling. So there might, I mean, they're definitely still priced up on the 10 and the 30 day. And then I think we have data this week. Well, we're going to have some data. We got Fed speakers tomorrow. Kashkari being an important one. He's at 1 o'clock. Williams and Jefferson at and before market open. We get, I think we're going to get import-export prices and industrial production on Tuesday. And then we get FOMC minutes Wednesday. We get the CB leading index. And then Friday we've got S&P PMIs and Michigan consumer. So a decent amount of data after the Fed speakers Monday. But tomorrow, yeah, kind of boring. After Burry bullish, should I close? Yeah, but what time frame is Burry bullish in? Also, didn't Burry close Scion? So, thought he liquidated all his positions. Pretty sure he did. Mm. Yeah, PFE could keep climbing up here. Or turn around. 25 looks supportive, at least, or like a pinning point. All the delta and gamma are at 25 for the most part. I would expect 25 to continue to be a draw, but if you have calls that are sold here that you sold up at the gamma max test, I mean, this is probably where you'd want to be looking to take profits. Birthday is Wednesday, but thank you, Jim. My birthday's on the 19th. It's been on the it's the same fucking day every day for 5 years. You guys know this shit. So pre-SLD pump into NVIDIA earnings then? Yeah, I think, well, I don't know about pump, but like pre-SLD drift up until we hit like resistance. What day's NVIDIA earnings? Yeah, probably push up in dispersion into Wednesday. Oh goody, it's on my birthday. Maybe they'll miss. Birthday gift. That'd be cool. Yeah, I'd be okay with that outcome. It's about time. Almost. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's about time they miss. This quarter or next quarter. Hmm. Maybe the whole bubble pops for your birthday? Ooh. Come on. That's too much. Yeah, gold and silver down. Well, we got futures open in like 6 minutes. So I'll let you guys enjoy that, and I'll get Pickle's picks written up for tonight. I'm sure one of you weirdos can timestamp all this stuff, right? If you do, I appreciate it. Anyway, catch you later. Have a good Sunday, guys. See you tomorrow. Peace.